Hi guys, welcome back for another one. Today I am reviewing the response and giving you guys my feedback, how I feel about, well, them acknowledging the community feedback. So guys, if you're ready for me to dig into each one of these points, plus give you guys my own thoughts of things that are missing, well, you know what to do. Sit back, relax, and let's get into it. For time's sake of this video, I am not going to read this blog word for word, as I already feel like this is going to be a long one and I don't want to make it longer. So I'm going to reference every single thing. If you guys want to review this dev blog for yourself, you can join on my Discord, as this automatically goes to my announcement section, or I will put a link down below where you guys can go to this website and check it out for yourself. So the first thing is that they basically said they've been acknowledging us for weeks. Now, I'm not saying they haven't been, but they have been silent for weeks going into this. And that's probably my only gripe with that opening statement, is that if you've been acknowledging this stuff for weeks, you've been talking about it for weeks, why did it take you so long to acknowledge that you guys have been, talking about this? I feel like it took every content creator, I'm going to be honest with you guys, it took every content creator to get on and just be salty about everything that was going on for them to finally say something to us. I know Cerebro has made responses on Reddit to people saying, hey, thanks for your feedback, I'm going to share it, but it just felt like it fell on dead ears after Cerebro. So that's my honestly open statement for this, guys. But ultimately, there are some good things here I do want to get into. First off, orange gear access. This is my number one, me personally, guys, this is my number one issue bottleneck in the entire game. Number one for me, it was on my list. As a matter of fact, I was actually working on, the day the lunar event came out, I was actually working on a slide, so you guys can see it right here, of talking about bottlenecks. And I kind of started with my biggest problem, right? Orange gear. And then the lunar event hit and I just totally lost my train of thought, stopped working on this because I couldn't believe, they wanted or expected or thought most players would spend 5,000 cores in a day. And then I was with my alliance and I forgot to turn that off. So the orange bottleneck was my number one, right? Because this is how it breaks down, right? It's just not these 15 pieces that are bottlenecked to get to 15. It's just not these 14 pieces that slow you down from getting to 14. And it's just not these pieces that slow you down, 13, 14, and 15, right? Because multiple characters take this. This one's a lot of gear here. And 14's farmable, but these are still not, but they're in almost, a lot of wars, right? If you get 100% Greek Rage, you get them. If you can turn your war credits into orbs where you get them, but there's no direct farming of the one that you specifically want, versus gear 14 there is, right? So you have those three bottlenecks. But the problem was, and this was where my biggest complaint came with orange gear, was that these are bottlenecked and these are bottlenecked and these are needed at 13, at 14, and at 15. And if you guys think that they're not bad, wait a minute. This is my Excel spreadsheet. And you guys can see right there, this is not even the 15, 13, or 14 pieces, right? This is just normal orange gear. You guys can see on here, I'm gonna use my mouse, hopefully you guys can see it, of the actual percentages I am short completing my Dark Dimension 14. Look at this, unstable molecules and orange gear, right? Only have 25%, 100 short of what I actually need to complete my Dark Dimension 14. And that's just tech. That is just tech. And then you look at these superior catalysts, another thing that they addressed in that dev blog. I don't even have 50% of what I need right now to complete my Dark Dimension 14. So if I would take a character and build them up into Gear 13, which I think Gear 13 should not be bottlenecked at this point. I think people should be able to freely go to that level and let 14 and 15 be the bottleneck slow down tiers. But anyways, it is what it is. I should not be punished for taking characters to Gear Tier 13 from completing characters to Gear Tier 15. And it's what you are right now. If you're not feeling this bottleneck because you're not trying to get characters to Gear Tier 15, or maybe if you're trying to struggle why, once you guys get the Gear 15 pieces and then you can't figure out why you can't advance, it's because of this stuff. It's because of this stuff. You guys can just see the percentages of what I've collected. The 14 pieces, I'm good, just missing some nanites, which I should eventually get. And then the hyphenage, I'm better progressed in that Gear 15 piece than I am in unstable molecules. So it's no surprise to me that the whales are complaining about orange gear. And the offers you guys give to complete characters, you're giving us 100 of these superior catalyst offers, stuff like that, when you need thousands. I can understand why orange gear has been a huge complaint. Orange gear was my number one on my list of unnecessary bottlenecks in this game. I do expect orange gear to be bottlenecked. I just don't expect it to be bottlenecked at every single aspect. So with that said, let's move into training modules. Training modules was number 2 on my list. Because at this point, if gold is their intended bottleneck, right? I do expect this game to have bottlenecks. Don't get me wrong. I expect it to have bottlenecks. But if gold is a bottleneck that is intended for the player base, then why is training modules, right? You can't use training modules without gold. And if gold's bottlenecked, then training modules should not be bottlenecked, right? You have plenty of blue, green, purple ability materials, right? Most players would say they don't even have to even worry about it, right? Because the only thing you have to worry about is the T4s, and that's obviously a bottleneck situation, and that's fine, right? I expect that one to be bottlenecked. But training modules, you need gold to use them. And if gold's a bottleneck, why are training modules? We should have plenty, just like we have the ability materials that I just described. So interested to see where they put this. They did say something about putting it into a store. I know some players, I did watch someone else earlier that said they would like them in the raid store. I personally will take them anywhere but the war store. I prefer Blitz, but I understand that not everybody probably blitzes as much as I do, and to me doesn't have the currency. And then again, maybe I just have such a stockpile of Blitz currency, I don't realize that you actually run out of Blitz currency if you have to constantly spend them on war. Just saying. Anywhere but the war store, I'm okay with. Maybe not arena. Anyways, let's move on. All right, so the next thing they talked about was character availability. I know there's been complaints out in the community. This one is a little bit lower on my list because I know that we can expect 2 characters to be released every month. Now, they do over time. There is, I think I've done the date on this, right? Most patches are 5 weeks. So they have 3 characters to get released over 5 weeks. Most cases, right? The mega patch was different, where we got 6 characters in 8 weeks, which is a little bit of a faster pace than what we're used to. And this patch is still only 3 characters because Jubilee is a legendary, which will be put into a legendary rotation. She's not like the other 3. I already did the math. We technically get 6 more characters a year than what they actually release them doing 2 a month. Now, we just had January where they did release 4 characters in 1 month, but that was to speed up the process for Jubilee. The cadence thing, I don't have too much an issue with. There are things they can do to make it better, don't get me wrong, but I do think they definitely need to fix a situation where a character goes at least, at a minimum, longer than 6 months before they become farmable in the game. Like, that is way too long. Beast, like, should have been farmable by now. It's been over 6 months. He should be farmable. I think Baron Zemo is coming up on that time frame. It's going to be longer than 6 months. I think at some point they just have to pull a trigger, like, okay, like a hard number where a character can't go past. And I think 6 months is by far the longest any character for any given reason should be remained unfarmable. And an argument can be made for something sooner, but I think at a minimum that should happen. The other thing they added here on the character availability is the war store. Now, the war store is diluted, right? If you're not going to add more slots, you need to limit how many characters are in there. So I think removing characters is great, but the problem is, and I guys can already tell you what's going to happen here with the war store, is it's going to be full of good characters. It's going to be full of characters we're going to tell new players that they really want. And I already know we don't get enough war currency right now as is to be able to do characters and gear. So I think either 2 things need to happen here. We need to have full access to all the war characters, or there needs to be 2 separate war currencies. One for character buying and one for gear buying, especially if they expect us to, that's where we get our 15s from. So somewhere there, it has to be a give or take. The war store is just too much of a bottleneck in my opinion, as you don't really get enough credits. No matter if you win or lose, you don't get enough credits to do everything you need to do in a war store. And that's coming from a late game player. I can only imagine what it's like for a new player who needs multiple characters in that store. All right, next thing they moved on to was Doom Raid rewards. Here's the crazy thing. They're just saying that the First Strike rewards, which is the early release, Ultima 7, I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but they did early release it First Strike. They actually had some kind of competition, the first alliance to clear it. It's super hard. The first alliance to clear it got some reward, and it was actually like a race between 2 alliances. And I remember we got this big celebration for the very first alliance to clear it. I remember there was 2 separate orbs because like 2 teams cleared it. It wasn't the exact same time, but it was a problem because of time zone issue. So Fox Next at the time, did allow to do a celebration with both teams. And what they did is they drafted 15 characters each and had an orb. And then the celebration is that we got credits, and then we could decide whose orb we wanted to open up. I think it was Pants of Hawk or Cabal or Legion of Cabal's orb, right? Based on the characters that were in that orb. I think one of them did a way better job drafting characters than the other lines did, if I remember correctly. I just can't remember who. None of that here with Doom Raid, right? It's just super hard content with really no answers of how we get in there and actually start collecting these Armory 15 orbs, because obviously it looks like we need G15 characters or very high red star characters. And I'm going to get into red stars here. It wasn't addressed in here, but I'm even going to get into red stars. But no answer of how we're supposed to actually reliably get in there without whaling, right? No direct progression system, right? The best system is one we can progress and see the connection, right? Right now, there's no connection from U7 where you can just literally go through with your best 5 tunes you possibly can if you really did a great job investing in those 5 tunes, and then go to somewhere where you need 25 tunes well invested into. So that wasn't really addressed of how they plan on doing that, but I mean, they are saying that this is the early stages. It's going to change. Now, the other thing is that they did say it was going to introduce the way we get blue ISOs, which is the next tier of ISOs. Here's the problem, and I'm okay with the difficulty of Doom Raids. I am okay with that. I'm worried about the progression into them. First off, 30%. If most alliances are meant to go in 30%, then 30% needs to be comparable to 100% Ultimate 7 difficulty 5. And then once you get 30% and you get these new rewards, the gear 15, right? You're going to get more gear 15. You're going to get blue ISO, right? And then you start applying to your characters, which then makes the Doom Raids easier. So then all of a sudden you expand your roster, and then you're doing 60% instead of 30%, right? Now you're getting more rewards and you're growing a little bit faster than what you were before. And then because of that progression, you're doing 100%, but there's no clear connection from Ultimate 7, difficulty 5 to Doom Raids and just doing 30%. There's no connection there. And red stars, they did not address red stars. Let me jump into red stars. So let's look at these requirements real quick. Level 80. All right. It's a little bit of a difficult bottleneck, but it's doable. Right? Over time, getting 25 characters done is doable. It's going to take time, right? It's a bottleneck. Doable. Gear 14. Orange gear. Hopefully that's all that problem. Make that 14 a little bit more doable without penalizing people and stopping them from getting into Dark Dimension 4 unless you were meant to do Dark Dimension 4 before you do Doom Raids, which is possible. I'm not ruling it out. But there needs to be something that helps build towards that. Ability level 7. You're basically saying we need T4s on our characters. Once again, it's a bottleneck, it's a slow bottleneck, but we could focus on our T4s. I'm going to skip red stars for a second here, guys. And I'm going to go straight into ISO 8 here at level 3. So the ISO 8 tier 1 level 3 is definitely easily doable. It's probably the least bottleneck thing for Doom Raids. Definitely doable. Doesn't really take that long or that much investment out of compared to the rest of these. Red stars. 6 red star characters. Do you guys know how long it takes to get a 6 red star character with gold promotion credits? Do you know how many of those we can do in a year? Do you know how often a character drops a 6 red and how often that character is someone that we could actually use in this kind of difficulty? I have a feeling it's not as often as you guys think it is. So there needs to be a better progression system for us to get 6 red stars on our characters. I honestly at this point don't know if red stars should stop being a bottleneck in the game and just be given to us. I hate to go there with that, but there is no direct, all this stuff, level 80, tier 14, ability levels, right? They're all bottlenecks that we can progress to. The red stars are completely RNG, no direct way to actually get 25 characters, guys, to 6 red stars. you don't give us nowhere near the gold promotion or silver promotion credits to do so. All right, the next thing, I'm not going to dig into this one too much. Obviously, they're just saying they're going to revert back on the quitting penalty in real-time arena. I think that's a positive. It doesn't really take much of me to say anything about that. I think that's a great direction to go. Raid milestones, they admit they didn't fix it since 2018. And I know personally, if you're someone who runs Ultimate 7 difficulty 5, you're clearing that thing within the first 24 hours. Like, it's done. So I don't think they need to rework the rewards that are in it. They just need to add to it, right? Add to it. So as players progress, they get more and more. The fact that we can complete the milestones in less than 24 hours as an end game or a late game alliance, maybe end game if you want to call it end game, but none of us have beaten Dark Dimension 4 yet. It needs to be added to, and I don't want to see, here's what I don't want to see. I don't want to see this thing, the same amount of milestone tiers and the rewards spread out, because what's going to happen is beginning alliances are not going to be able to collect a lot of gear that we're able to collect right now. So I'm hoping they just add to it, don't spread it out. Thor's hammer throw crash. I've never experienced this crash. That's interesting. This one surprised me as something that was in here. I didn't know it was a thing, but apparently it's a big thing. They're trying to fix it. We are moving on to save squads. Now, this needs to be fixed, and they need to have a permanent fix. And it sounds like they're adding more. They're doing another band-aid here again, which is fine. I like having more save squads than there are characters, but we really need, as complicated as the game is coming with wars and raids, we need tabs. We really need tabs for each game mode. My attack teams in war do not match my blitz teams. My defensive teams in war do not match my blitz teams. Not all of them, some do. And my raid teams don't match my save squad blitz teams. Definitely, they need this system. They need to get it right in 2021. And I'm hoping when they said there will be additional info on save squads enhancements, I'm hoping they definitely mean that. And then guys, in closing, they say in 3 weeks, we should get that roadmap to 2021. Hopefully a lot more goodies in there. Hopefully if they introduce bottlenecks, they are reducing bottlenecks. Because honestly, like I said guys earlier, I do expect this game to have bottlenecks. I'm not saying eliminate all the bottlenecks. They just need to be reasonable. There needs to be a reasonable amount and a reasonable progression. And that's where I'm going to end things, guys. And if you guys enjoy this one, give me a thumbs up. If you're new here and haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. And if you do not want to miss the next hot take that I do on my channel, don't forget that notification bell and check me out on Twitch, because I'm recording this live on Twitch right now. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.